I give the floor to His Excellency Jorge Valero Briceño, the chairman of the delegation of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, Venezuela grants the highest priority to South-South cooperation. In Latin America and the Caribbean, there are already successful experiences such as that of Petrocaribe, which fosters solidarity in energy cooperation, and also in ALBA, which is producing successful results in overcoming poverty and inequality. These novel forms of solidarity and cooperation help to contribute to the achievement of the MDGs, contributing also to the development of our peoples. It is essential to point out with satisfaction that despite the problematic economic and financial context, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela has met almost all of the MDGs, and in particular in the area of poverty, health, nutrition, education, child mortality, and sanitation, among others. The Bolivarian Revolution plans to contribute to the structure and agenda of the United Nations, a structure and an agenda which reflects the existing and unjust power relationships in the world. This forum, as it is today, helps to reproduce those unjust relations inherited from the Second World War, more exclusive and authoritarian as neoliberal globalization advances. The President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez Frias, said the following on September 15, 2005, during his speech at the General Debate at the 60th session of the United Nations General Assembly, and I quote, "The United Nations have exhausted its model, and it is not simply a matter of proceeding with reform. The 21st century demands deep changes that are only possible with a rebuilding of this organization. In the United Nations, a strategy has been implemented to weaken the General Assembly and to exclude it from the most relevant world decisions, while the Security Council progressively increases its power and influence over the UN agenda. And this body, the Security Council, takes over subjects beyond the purview conferred to it by the charter of the organization. The Secretary General of the United Nations is, according to the charter, an administrative officer of the organization whose responsibility, in accordance with the charter, must respond to the interests of all member states and not to the policies of a few powers that seek to guide the global agenda. For almost 20 years, Mr. President, we have been discussing the reform of the Security Council and the strengthening of the General Assembly. Yet so far, almost nothing has been achieved. Venezuela proposes to suspend the right of veto enjoyed by 5 members of the United Nations. This remnant of the Second World War, Mr. President, is incompatible with the principle of sovereign equality of nations. Venezuela also proposes an increase of the Security Council membership in both the permanent and non-permanent categories. Why are developing countries deprived of the right to partake in this forum? Venezuela, hence, calls upon all states to propose candidates for the post of Secretary General so that this post can be democratized. Venezuela believes that Resolution 11-1 from January 1946 regarding the terms of the election of the Secretary General in no way restricts the ability of General Assembly member states to discuss and vote in this election.